Hey, it's the Chief Bonding with Board Games and RPGs. We're doing an unboxing or riffle through or opening of Ashes Without Number, a game for After the End by Kevin Crawford and his company Sine Nomine. Now, before we open this, I gotta admit to being somewhat of a fanboy. I kickstarted this. It's not like it was sent to me, but I've also kickstarted Stars Without Number. That was the original. This is the revised version. Everything is Smith sewn, usually ribbons, but no ribbons with this new one. We have Worlds Without Number, which is a fantasy setting, and it's as if there's been multiple different worlds that have risen and collapsed. We have Cities Without Number, which is, this is probably my favorite cover. This is cyberpunk or Blade Runner-esque. I love, and first use was with Cities Without Number. There are little expansions like the Atlas for Later Earth, which is from Worlds Without Number, gorgeous. And I even picked up early stuff, which is this little soft cover print on demand, obviously not Smith sewn glued, but that's totally fine. Scarlet Heroes, which is Sword and Sorcery Adventures for the solo player. Hello, the solo player. But you're like, we're not here to look at this. We're not here to look at this beautiful atlas. I know I'm doing all of this. This beautiful atlas of the later Earth, or the cool Cities Without Number, or the Worlds Without Number, or the Stars Without Number. We're here to look at the apocalypse. This is the end of the world. This artwork, of course, the apocalypse is going to be dreary. So maybe it needed to be that destroyed city with a little encampment that's coming along. The art on the inside cover, I'll move this over. I love when these are used. Let's just turn through. Now, I'm not going to go through every page, but I'm going to give you an idea of what's going on. And the rules for each of the Worlds Without Number series, they're kind of close. There's different modifications to the system, the scene setting with the fires that consume. Let me show you the back. So here we have a quick little breakdown on the back of the book, and then I'll riffle through. So Kevin Crawford's Kickstarters are complete joy. You're saying why? So first of all, monthly updates. He lets you know what he's doing, what he's working on. When you back one of his Kickstarters, you literally feel like you're part of the process. He'll take advice, like every once in a while, he'll say, hey, I'm working on filling out something. What is it, Albuquerque in here? I'm working on filling something out with the mission starter with Albuquerque. Anybody got any ideas on X? Now I can't remember exactly, but he's engaging with you, the backer. He is hitting timelines. He's updating you on where he's at, what he's thinking, where he's going. So it's a pleasure to see his updates come down. Now I'm going to give you another little sidebar. So during the campaign completion, so the campaign had been funded, he's working on it. And in the midst of that, the whole tariff situation drops. And you're seeing like all these Kickstarters, some of which I backed, other Kickstarters, not his, with panic ensuing. And he comes out with, I think it was like 2 sentences. No need to worry. I've always and will continue to print all of my books in Tennessee. He says it costs a little more, but you Kickstarter backers have been so generous that I am more than willing to pay the extra cost to make sure I have more control over the delivery of the product. Bingo, that was it. And I was like, huh. There's printers here. He uses them because he wants that extra control. So let's go back. All right, I had to get that out. But his Kickstarters, oh, and they always deliver on time or early. Hello, on time or early. And he tells you about the only thing he hasn't accounted for is if he dies. And I think he might have even accounted for that. Said if he dies and there's a possibility he has like a family member that's going to try to get people their money back. I was like, I'm in, but don't die, Kevin. I have more things I want. People are always putting in the comments, like he'll say, hey, successfully shipped your book. And people say, What about a version with pirates and ship combat? So there's always people saying, please do 8 more versions. All right, what are we doing here? Character creation. You're going to have pages that will just show you how to create your character. After you create your character, there's tons of tables and assist for the GM, DM, the referee that comes along with this. Positive mutations. I usually don't like mutations in my apocalyptic games, but they're definitely part of the flavor spice that goes with anything with the apocalypse. It's in here. If you can think of an apocalyptic movie setting, Red Dawn, Mad Max, there's a spin in here. There's all this vehicle muscle car stuff. So it's all sitting in here. I know all this from the backing of it, but you have a clear breakout of the rules of the game. We're going to kind of skip forward. You can see it's quite dense and thick, but as we move through, just know that there is a full rule system here. It's a lot more like a throwback. It definitely works with OSR. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel, or Kevin's not trying to reinvent the wheel. This isn't a review. This isn't about the rules. This is just a flip through the book. But you can see it's very text heavy. There is art throughout, but it's just like this. It's flavored. It's sprinkled in. Let's see. Pharmaceuticals, vehicles. Again, I'm not doing every page. That would take quite some time. High-tech tools, consumer goods. So we'll move through, and we should have, I think it's tags coming up. Tags I used in the cyberpunk book. All right, here's Enclave tags. You can think of Enclave tags, which is exactly what it says in here, but I've used them in the other books. This is something where if you're familiar with one book, you're definitely aided in the others, because Enclave tags are codified tropes. So we'll flip through pages here, but you can see over here some of the general tropes that are there. But then each trope has 5 elements. And these are like, almost like spark tables or something, because each of the elements, you're going to have a letter. So E is going to be enemies. F is going to be friends. C is going to be complications. T is going to be things, so stuff you would find if you went into, say, Forgotten Bunker. And P will be places, so it's going to describe like the place that it sits in. But we're not done yet. Each one of those letters, each one of those elements, then comes with like a sentence, and there's 3 sentences. So if we were dealing with the road, not to ruin anything, but when they find the concealed bunker and they go down the ladder and in there is a bunch of food, and it's a touching moment of the father giving his son, I think it's a Coca-Cola, but it's some kind of carbonated sugary beverage, and the kid's never had anything like it. He tastes it and he's amazed. And you can kind of taste it with him. Well, you can see that bunker, that discovered bunker would be the trope. With that would be 5 elements. So in this case, it's not like there's an enemy or anything. It's more like things are in it, or that it's a safe place. It's a place to fort up. And then examples would just be little tags that you can go off of. I'll flip to one of them and I'll show you here in a second. So as we flip through, what I'll end up doing, you can see they're each laid out with that letter system. And there's 4 per page. It's just this beautiful layout. I'm just telling you, this is why I like Kevin's work. I knew when I got to the tags, because I have the other books, I knew exactly what I was looking at. It was kind of like going home to your parents' house a little bit after you've been out in the real world, college or work, and you come back and you know you can go to the fridge and kind of what's going to be in it, and you can make yourself a sandwich. There you go. There's a weird one. All right, you get an idea. Each one of these entries, 4 per page, generally, except when there's art, are going to have these type of things. So you're able to flip through, by the way, alphabetically, and I'm able to look at Enclave tags. So these are tags for different kinds of enclaves, but you will move through your enclaves and you'll see the same system is used. What's the next section? Let's see if we, ooh, people being burned. That doesn't seem nice. What is that? Cults? Religious zealots. Uh-oh. Watch out. I don't want to run into that enclave. unless they're on my side. Creating your campaigns. I don't think this uses tags or it would say it, but it will help you with campaign themes, campaign genres, structures for your campaign or structuring your campaign, crisis campaigns, very cool, exploration. This is the stuff I love. And it's just fun to read. I'm going to be honest with you. Creating your regions. You can do hex map. I think it's, what is he using? 8 miles maybe per hex? I don't know. Every hex crawl is slightly different, but whatever. Building crises. Oh, law enforcement. So when you look at a crisis and you know that you can dial in on each one of these, you get like, it starts as this, I don't know, flyover overview. Okay, a food crisis. I can imagine what that is. You've got a table off to the side that helps you dial in for each one of these. A medical crisis, a power crisis. Some of you know I'm law enforcement. 30 years in. Hello, 30 years in. So, what is this crisis involving law enforcement? Let's read in a little bit here. I'll throw a photo on because I'm interested in this D8 table. So it's what went wrong. You could simply say, okay, I want to have some problem with law enforcement. I can think already like maybe they turned into their own organized gang or something. I don't know. But a D8, what went wrong? So I roll a 1. The cops have devolved into a ruthlessly self-interested gang. Well, there you go. The police that was easy. It's probably why it's number 1. The police have splintered into multiple factions under different leaders. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Which is cool because on the police department, you have personality types that gravitate towards jobs. We have motors in Wichita, and the motor guys ride around on their motorcycles. I think they watch too much Chips, but they love riding around on their motorcycles. I would never do it, ever. You have your canine guys. They have their own little buddy with them. It seems so cool, but I don't think I could do the training. You got your narcs, which are weird. They're all weirdos. I used to be a narc. So you've got all these groups. I could definitely see them factoring in. I'm going to go off a little bit on this law enforcement side because I got 30 years of knowledge. What's number 3 here? Law enforcement has retreated to defend only itself and its immediate supporters. Okay, so that could be like, what is the chief just protecting his own? Or maybe you got a mayor that's just like, hey, you protect me. We got the food and the guns. 4, remnants of local government are using cops as ruthless enforcers of their rule. Okay, so a mayor gone rogue, kind of what I almost said already. 5, the cops are taking advantage of the chaos to wipe out the undesirables. Ooh, that's a problem. Okay. 6, the police have declared themselves the de facto government of the area. Yeah, I could see that happening. Like just martial law comes in. 8, the police have disintegrated as a cohesive group as their members flee. Wow. I can see that too. If you're working with trying to hold a city together that's in complete collapse and Joe suddenly gets word that his family got wiped out, probably everybody around Joe is headed home. So, wow. Yeah, that's good. So this is something that I could easily kind of picture, and this is just one section. Let me look here. Now, I didn't read everything. I don't want to read to you, but let me see what the very first paragraph is, and then I'll pick one more just to read here. Where civil cooperation with authorities cannot be obtained from the locals, law enforcement provides the stick of encouragement. Depending on the nature of the crisis, the local cops may or may not have had time to brace themselves for the current collapse. True, probably have not. Or to develop new conceptions of their future role in local government. Guaranteed. All right, I've got to read more. Depending on how quickly the situation devolves and how rapidly the local government loses its legitimacy, the cops might end up the de facto rulers of a place simply by virtue of being an armed, organized body. True. And by the way, please do not get offended by the word cops. My cousin got a hold of me. She's a psychologist, and she thought it was offensive, and I said, no. She goes, are you sure? I said, yeah. And she goes, how do you know? And I said, well, besides from being 26 years on the job, cops love the TV show Cops. It's called cops. We don't have a problem with it. She was like, oh, I never thought of that. They have the guns, the bodies, and the habit of discipline to enforce a rough and ready peace on a populace that may be desperate for some sort of security wherever it costs. I can't stop reading this. Kevin, you are awesome, and you know exactly what you're talking about. Most law enforcement agencies are built to enforce policies. Yep, laws, actually, rather than develop them. Yep, the legislative branches develop the laws, and may not be able to enlist the necessary allies and expertise to keep the rest of the city running. Well, guaranteed, they're not going to be able to keep the water flowing. Individual law enforcers are apt to break away when their own families and loved ones start getting threatened by the situation. Wow. Placing their safety over their loyalty to the force. Others may give up when they decide that the situation is irretrievable and that no degree of force can bring order to a city plunged into destruction. Wow. And that's just one section. There's page after page of these situations. Sewage and waste, water, transport. This is what I love. Building encounter sites, okay? Encounter site tags. So we're back to the tag system with the enemies, friends, complications, things and places for each one of these. Again, this is what makes his systems feel like you've come home. They're helpful, they're familiar, they're very logical. This must be why my son comes home from college all the time. Maybe. So I'm just flipping through, but I love these. He could put these on a deck of cards and just have these in segments that he could sell. Ooh, that's a good idea. Do that, Kevin. Do that. You could have a deck of these and just kind of draw one out. But the book works perfect. These just go on and on, again, alphabetically. Let me flip ahead. All right, so we have the one roll pages. So in this one, this is the past area of a site. Kevin says that the tags themselves can be a little limited, so this allows you a single page to go through and flesh something out. So just looking at this being a site, I'm going to be honest, my battery died on me, so I'd already randomly picked numbers and gone through, but this one was like, what happened to this place? It was a 5 and it had been important, but it had sunk. So I immediately was like, this was an old cruise ship, but it's partially sunk, but still usable. Then we had who were the latest occupants. The random one I rolled, was that it was like a band of violent nomads or something. And then why did they get booted out? There was some kind of beast that had a lair too close that was attacking them. And then this 4-sided die here, I picked 4, which said this thing came into place either before whatever the crisis is or during. Well, that told me that it was a cruise ship that when nukes, let's just say, started going off, they decided to come in close to shore and beach. Maybe they were running out of food or energy. A D12, why hasn't it been reclaimed by anybody? Well, we already know there's a layer close by, but I'm going to pick the number 7. All right, different groups have laid claim to it, but none of them seem to hold on. Okay, well, that could be a problem. Maybe we need to avoid it altogether. Maybe it's cursed. Who knows? A twist to the past. 19. It stockpiled some once common resources. Okay, this could be ropes on the ship, or life preservers, or food, or cleaning supplies, or whatever. You're probably not going to have weapons, but you know it's a cruise ship. These are awesome, and they allow you to just do so much with just that single page. Encounter site features, and again, site occupants, there's tables, everything helps you build a world. One roll occupant details. I can't say these titles. Occupant leadership, so you have details, leadership, and then we have site hazards. Okay, I don't want to go every page, but these one rolls I love. So here's traveling survivor groups. So if you're traveling, you're gonna run into folks. I know there's more of these. Buy the book. That's all I can tell you. Creating adventures. You're going to get GM help, and I just randomly turned to it. Now I'm like, what did I miss? Okay, clothing, gear. All right, you're going to get a lot of GM help on how to create an adventure. And then again, from the Kickstarter, I know there's an adventure even then laid in here, which also helps you understand how you would create it. But you're going to get all kinds of GM help and crisis adventures, exploration adventures, so like a theme for what kind of adventure you're in, social, raider band courts. I'm going to skip ahead. Beast folk. This is where it gets weird. I don't think I'll use this, but you have all kinds of beasts that are humanish, human-like. What do we have here? Turtles? Werewolf? Here's a one-roll beast folk patch generator. Oh, pack generator. Can't read through the screen. We're going to do a big flip. Zombies. You got to have zombies. All right, what else is in here now? Robots. Mutant humanoids. Mutant animals. You can't see it. My fault. Mutant animals. Mutant humanoids. Humans. Cyborgs. Beast folk. What's after zombies? Now I'm too low. All right, zombie infections. I know you can do like Walking Dead. You can do Alien or Aliens. So you can do that kind of, people are coming. Nemesis traits. What else is on here? Oh, we got to go back. I think we've got, there we go, the Albuquerque Death Zone. So you get all kinds of GM help on how to create a setting, a world, and then you get one. So it's all laid out. Before the mandate, a new rule, pictures, that looks very sci-fi. So you get all of this information now on the Albuquerque Death Zone. I can never spell Albuquerque. All right, we go through, you got outlaws. So this just fleshes all of this out. Look at this, here's your hex map. You could hex crawl it, you can see where the water is, the mountains are. Everything else looks pretty hazardous and irradiated. The geography of a zone. So not only is this something that allows you to get up and play, but it shows you how to do it if you didn't know how. People and places, let me flip through so we can get through here. I think if memory serves, some of his comments, he even took suggestions from the backers on supplements. So evil techno wizards, kind of like magic. The ash sorcerer. I want to show some of these just because it's so unique and it's very cool how he comes up with the information. The mentalist. And then you get to see it, manifest and come to life. So mentalist disciplines. Well, that's cool. You're holding back some being. Modular power armor. We know what that's from. Fitting descriptions. I don't know what all this is. Hub settlement rules. I love it. The settlement turn. You can be running a settlement and you're actually getting a turn for that settlement. The fields need to be worked. Water needs to be drawn or managed. PC actions in the settlement. So there's all kinds of things on running a settlement here. I could geek out on that. We flip through. What do we got here? Mass combat. Okay. An example, a full example of your settlement. Mass combat's cool. I can never really run it though. Food problems, social problems, environmental problems, external problems. Okay, and it's over. Munificent Kickstarter backers. If you look, the chief is like right over here somewhere. Very small font. I can barely read this, but the only thing I noticed when I got this, here's your index, is you end up with these blank pages back here. And I was like, what? Usually Kevin fills everything. So I was a little surprised. And my only thought, some book somewhere suggested that if you want to generate a name, that you can flip to the back and randomly just put your finger down and come up with a first name and then a last name. So these backer pages become functional for coming up with very quick NPC names. That being said, this is so small it's hard for me to read, Not that I need to see, but if you have open pages, couldn't this have been spread at least into 4 pages instead of just 2? And if it was back here, I would have 4 pages that I could go through and just grab names. Just my one suggestion. I do love having this on the back so you can come in and do common humans, zombies. This is as if you've run across, so if you're GMing at the table and you need to come up with, hey, it's a fast zombie. So you have a shambler, a walker, and a leaper. So you could just come and have all their stats filled out. So great resource here. Coming to the back. Boom. You can see this is just part of the city, part of the extended damaged city. Love it. What a resource. Love them. Will continue to buy them. The quality, the way the Kickstarter is run, it is just phenomenal. And years and years of experience. This was a long unboxing, but I had to nerd out on it a little bit. Chief, bonding with board games and RPGs.